My name is Elena Ramirez, and for nearly 3 decades I was the family outsider. Not because I misbehaved or lacked ambition, but because I made one decision they could never forgive. I chose loyalty to my grandmother over pleasing them. My grandmother, Sophia Ramirez, came to Miami from Cuba in 1962 at just 19, pregnant with my mother, carrying only a suitcase and her nursing diploma. After my grandfather died in a fishing accident in 1967, she worked double shifts at Jackson Memorial Hospital while raising my mother alone. By the time I was born in 1997, Grandma Sophia had retired from nursing and owned 7 small, but steady rental properties across Miami: Little Havana, Coconut Grove, and Coral Gables. Modest duplexes and apartment buildings, nothing glamorous, but homes that provided stability and affordable rent for families who needed it. My mother, Carmen, despised those properties. She had grown up poor, sharing a 1-bedroom apartment with Grandma while her mother worked endlessly. She wore hand-me-downs, worked part-time through high school, and watched every penny spent. I lived in poverty so she could buy buildings, my mom would say bitterly. When other kids had bikes, we had rental properties that weren't for fun, they were for survival. Mom married my father, Roberto, in 1995. His family was wealthy. They owned a car dealership. Suddenly, Mom had the life she wanted. A 4-bedroom house in Pinehurst, new cars every couple of years, country club membership. My siblings, Christina, 32, and Miguel, 30, inherited her contempt for Grandma's properties. Christina became a luxury real estate agent. Miguel went into finance. Both dismissed my grandmother's small buildings as irrelevant. I was different. While they spent weekends shopping or at the country club, I spent Saturdays learning from Grandma Sophia. We toured her buildings, checked plumbing, spoke to tenants, and reviewed repairs. "These aren't just buildings," she'd say. "They're homes. The people trust us to keep them safe. That's a responsibility, Mija." I adored those moments. Loved her stories of Cuba, starting over, building something real. My family saw it as betrayal. "Why waste time on those old apartments?" Mom would scoff. "Christina and Miguel have careers that matter." But in 2020, as Grandma Sophia's health began to decline, she summoned me alone to her apartment. At 77, she wanted to secure her legacy. She opened a folder of deeds, financial statements, tenant lists. "I'm creating an irrevocable trust," she explained. "All 7 properties will go in it. You'll be the sole beneficiary." I hesitated. Christina and Miguel, they should inherit them. Grandma shook her head. "They don't understand. You do. You value what I built. This isn't about pleasing anyone else. It's about protecting the buildings and the people in them." Within days, we met with her attorney. The trust was formalized. The Sophia Ramirez Irrevocable Trust, March 2020. 7 Miami properties, $3.2 million in value, sole beneficiary me. Grandma retained a monthly distribution for her expenses, but legally, the buildings were mine. I told no one. I continued my modest life in Kendall, working as a social worker, driving my old Camry, quietly managing the trust income for repairs, maintenance, and reserves. Meanwhile, my family treated me as the disappointing daughter. Over the next 3 years, I learned everything about property management, landlord-tenant law, and the local market. I maintained buildings carefully, treated tenants with respect, and kept rents fair but sustainable. Retaining a long-term tenant in Little Havana became my proudest decision. A retired mechanic named Roberto, who Grandma had known for decades, stayed at affordable rent instead of being displaced. By 2023, the 7 properties were in excellent condition with waiting lists for tenants. My family still had no idea about the trust. Christina boasted of her luxury sales, Miguel flaunted his finance achievements, and my parents continued to subtly undervalue me. But I knew the truth. The properties were thriving, generating more income than their high-profile careers combined. Grandma Sophia passed peacefully on October 12, 2025 at 82, holding my hand. "You'll do the right thing, Mija," she whispered. "You earned this. And when the family resists, remember, it was always your choice because you proved yourself." At her funeral, the family gathered. I stood quietly, carrying forward her legacy, not for recognition, but because I understood the value of what she had built, and the people who called it home. Relatives had flown in from all over the country. Everyone dressed in black, sharing memories of Grandma Sophia's resilience and determination. At the reception, I caught Christina whispering to our cousin Anna. "The estate is going to be significant," Christina said, leaning close. 7 rental properties in prime Miami areas, probably worth $4 million or more. I'll need to coordinate with the estate attorney to appraise everything and get it listed. Listed? Anna asked, puzzled. Yes, Christina said confidently. Grandma was sentimental, but the land is valuable. We could sell all of it and split the proceeds, me, Miguel, Elena. Maybe Mom and Dad get a share too. Everyone benefits. Anna glanced toward me. What does Elena think? Christina laughed softly. Elena doesn't get a say. She just helped Grandma with upkeep. That's not the same as understanding real estate. I'm the professional. I'll handle it. 2 weeks later, Mom called. The estate attorney wants a meeting with the family next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Richard Castanos's office in Coral Gables. Everyone must attend. Why? I asked, though I already knew. Christina's plan to take over the properties. Wednesday, October 30th. I took the morning off and drove to Castanos's office. The place was just as I remembered: Cuban artwork on the walls, framed photos with Miami mayors, law degrees from the University of Miami. Mom and Dad arrived first, then Christina with her designer suit and iPad full of property valuations, followed by Miguel, clearly annoyed to be taking time from work. Richard greeted us warmly. Thank you all for coming. Sophia was a remarkable woman. Mom dabbed at her eyes, Dad nodded solemnly. Christina immediately opened her iPad. I've prepared a detailed analysis of property values and a listing strategy based on current market conditions. Richard raised his hand. Let's start with the will itself. He read through standard items: jewelry to Mom, cash gifts to grandchildren, donations to her church, then paused at the section about the properties. These assets were previously transferred to the Sophia Ramirez Irrevocable Trust in 2020. They are not part of the probatable estate and are not addressed in this will. A stunned silence fell. Christina's iPad tilted in her hands. Miguel leaned forward. Mom's mouth dropped open. I didn't hear that, Christina said shakily. Richard explained calmly. Grandma created an irrevocable trust in 2020. All 7 rental properties were legally transferred to it. They no longer belong to the estate. Mom's face twisted in disbelief. She would have told us. She told the beneficiary, didn't she? Miguel narrowed his eyes. Who's the beneficiary? The room erupted. Christina leapt from her chair. This can't be. I'm the real estate expert. I should be handling these properties. Sit down, Christina, Richard said firmly. Miguel shouted. This is fraud. Grandma wasn't competent in 2020. She had kidney disease, diabetes. She was fully competent, Richard cut in. Medical records confirm her clarity. She knew exactly what she was doing. Mom turned to me, a mix of shock and betrayal on her face. You knew about this? I have since 2020, I said quietly. Grandma asked me to manage the properties and I did. For 5 years. You collected rent? Christina demanded. $1 million properties? And never told anyone. Grandma instructed me not to, I replied. She knew the family would fight. She wanted the process legal and clean. Dad finally spoke. Which properties exactly? Richard listed them. The Little Havana duplex, a Coconut Grove fourplex, a Miracle Mile triplex, 2 duplexes on Cayuga, and 2 small apartment buildings in Coral Gables. All transferred to the trust on March 20, 2020, and appraised in 2024 at $3.8 million. Mom gasped. Christina flushed red. Miguel pulled out his phone. You've been lying for 5 years. Dad accused. I haven't lied, I said calmly. You assumed my modest life reflected my reality. I followed Grandma's wishes, protected her legacy, and managed the properties responsibly. Christina paced. How much rent have you collected? Richard replied. Approximately $11,000 per month net. Over 5 years, that's more than $700,000. Miguel's voice trembled. $750,000? Most of that went to upkeep, mortgages, improvements, and reserves, I said. The properties are more valuable now because of careful management. Christina scoffed. You're a social worker. What do you know about property management? More than you think, I said quietly. Grandma taught me everything. While you were selling luxury homes and dismissing her buildings, I learned what really matters. Dad demanded to see proof. Richard produced a thick folder. The complete irrevocable trust, notarized medical evaluations confirming Grandma's competency, property appraisals, and all transfer documents. Grantor, Sophia Ramirez. Trustee Richard Costanos. Sole beneficiary, Elena Ramirez. Dad stared, shock mingled with reluctant respect. She left us out? She didn't leave you out, I said. She gave you personal items and gifts. The properties went to the one who understood them, who would preserve them. Christina slammed her hand on the table. These buildings are worth millions today. You could sell them all for top dollar. To you, I said firmly. To Grandma they were homes, communities, a legacy. She wanted them preserved, not torn down for profit. Miguel tried again. We'll contest this. Undue influence. You manipulated her. Convinced her to disinherit her daughter. Richard calmly interjected. Grandma was competent. Elena has documentation, doctor's notes, and records of regular visits. No court will find undue influence. Christina, desperate, tried misreading the will, claiming, Elena's not mentioned. The properties go to the family. I smiled. Which version are you reading? Before she could answer, I texted a single message. A few moments later, Patricia Morales walked in. A professional in her 40s, confident and poised. I represent the irrevocable trust established in 2020, she said. All 7 properties are legally transferred and managed according to the trust. It's public record in Miami-Dade County. Your family simply didn't look. She laid out every document. Signed trust agreement, notarizations, medical evaluations confirming Grandma's competence, and property transfer filings. Silence filled the room as my family absorbed the reality. They had no claim to the properties. The property transfer documents had been properly filed with the county. Tax records reflected the trust's income for the past 5 years, and maintenance logs showed the meticulous care I'd taken managing every building. Grandma hadn't simply handed over the properties, she had given them with purpose. Patricia continued. Sophia set clear rules when she transferred these buildings. They must remain affordable housing. They cannot be sold, demolished, or converted for luxury developments. Their upkeep is mandatory. Elena agreed to uphold these terms. That's why she was chosen. Christina went pale. Wait, that means we can never sell them? Elena can't sell them. Patricia shook her head. Not while the trust exists. And the trust is perpetual. Its provisions ensure that even Elena's heirs must honor this mission. My mother began to cry. Mom, I said softly, you were given her jewelry, her personal items, cash gifts. But the properties, those were never meant for you. You spent your life resenting them because Grandma chose them over giving you a wealthier upbringing. She knew that. That's why she entrusted them to someone who truly valued them. Miguel stood abruptly. I'm calling my lawyer. We'll contest this. Go ahead, Richard said calmly. But there's something else you need to know. Everyone turned toward him. In 2023, Grandma hired a forensic accountant to investigate some irregularities. Christina, have you been showing these properties to potential buyers? The room went silent. Christina's face drained of color. I what? She stammered. During 2023 and 2024, multiple investors reported that someone representing the family estate had shown them these buildings, implying they would soon be sold. You presented yourself as having authority over these properties, which you did not. Patricia pulled out a folder. Emails from Christina's work account, photos of the properties, prepared market analyses. You were lining up buyers for Grandma's buildings before she even passed, I said quietly. Christina sank into her chair. I was just preparing, being proactive. I'm a real estate professional. It's what I do. Richard's tone was sharp. What you did was fraud. These buildings were already in an irrevocable trust. You misrepresented your authority to at least 6 investors and even accepted a $10,000 consulting fee for services you weren't authorized to provide. Miguel muttered. It's worse than that. Patricia explained. One investor has filed a complaint with the Florida Real Estate Commission. Christina claimed exclusive rights to sell and accepted a $10,000 fee for a development proposal. That money must be returned. Mom sobbed harder. Dad looked pale. I didn't know, Christina whispered, shaking. I thought I was supposed to inherit. I just wanted a head start. You were wrong, I said firmly. And you charged someone for authority you didn't have. Richard laid out the evidence. Investor communications, consulting agreements, market proposals, 2 years of preparations to profit from properties Christina never owned. I looked at them all. Here's what happens. The $10,000 goes back immediately. Christina stops claiming any authority over the properties, and everyone understands this clearly. These buildings are mine, legally and permanently. There will be no sale, no demolition. They will remain affordable housing forever. Miguel hesitated. And if we fight? You'll lose, Richard said. You'll spend tens of thousands on lawyers and tear the family apart. Is that what you want? Miguel looked at his sister, at our parents, at the evidence. No, he said finally. The meeting ended shortly afterward. Christina left first, already calling the investor to arrange the refund. Miguel followed quietly. Mom and Dad lingered. We should have realized, Mom whispered. The way Mama looked at you. The way she smiled when you talked about the buildings, we should have understood. You didn't want to understand, I said. You wanted to believe your version of the story. Christina is the successful real estate daughter. Miguel is the brilliant financier. And I was the one wasting my potential helping Grandma with her little hobby. Dad cleared his throat. What you've done, managing these properties for 5 years, requires real skill. Yes, I said. It does. Can we have a relationship now? Mom asked. That depends, I replied. Can you accept that I own $3.8 million in real estate, that I generate $11,000 a month in income, and that I've built something real while you were embarrassed by me? They looked uneasy. We were wrong, Dad admitted. We measured success by the wrong standards. We valued luxury listings and finance careers over purpose and legacy. And now? I asked. Now we see what you built, Mom said softly. And it's exactly what Mama wanted. Hard to accept, but true. I stood. I need time. 28 years of being dismissed and made to feel small doesn't vanish overnight. They nodded. Richard and Patricia stayed behind. You handled that beautifully, Patricia said. I've been preparing for 5 years, I replied. Grandma warned me it would be ugly. Richard smiled. She knew her family. That's why she made everything ironclad. That's why she chose you. Patricia handed me an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter from Grandma Sophia. Mija, if you're reading this, you've told the family the truth about the trust. They may be hurt or angry, they will think what they want. You and I know the truth. Real wealth isn't luxury listings or bank accounts. It's providing homes, building communities, leaving a legacy. You saw what I built as I did. Take care of it and don't feel guilty for being chosen. I'm proud of you always. I read it 3 times, tears streaming. Christina returned the $10,000 consulting fee within a week. The real estate commission suspended her license for 6 months. She eventually recovered, but her career never reached the same heights. Miguel never challenged the trust after calculating the potential legal costs. In December, my parents asked to tour the properties. I showed them each building, introduced them to tenants, and revealed the thriving communities Grandma Sophia had created. This is real, Dad whispered, standing in a Coral Gables courtyard. Mom wept softly. Mama was right. About everything about you. We began having monthly family dinners. Awkward at first, sometimes slipping back into old habits, but progress was being made. I continued Grandma's work, maintaining buildings carefully, keeping rents affordable, and providing stable homes for families. In March 2026, I added an 8th property, a triplex in Little Havana, giving homes to families priced out of the market. I still work as a social worker, drive my old Camry, live in my modest apartment. But I know what real wealth is. Creating lasting homes, building with purpose, and making choices guided by values, not appearances. Christina learned the hard way. My parents are learning slowly. I learned decades ago at Grandma's kitchen table. Being underestimated can be a gift. Quiet work is more powerful than loud protest. And the truest validation isn't proving others wrong. It's knowing you were right all along. I now own $3.8 million in Florida real estate. The family once thought I wasted my potential. I didn't.